Hey everyone, Keith McGinnis here with KCDC Designs out of Eagle, Nebraska. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And if you are subscribed, thank you for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. So I've got a customer countertop set. This adds up to about 73 square feet. That's going to get a fantasy marble design. That's what's going to end up going on there. Turned out absolutely gorgeous. The veining is beautiful. Colors exactly what the customer was after. So let's just get to it and I'll show you how I created it. All right, I have pearl gold, which is a stardust mica, which is an interference gold. I have silver pearl sparkle, and it's very translucent, and I'm really debating on whether or not I should make that kind of a skim milk, but I'm going to leave it as it is because my board is already white. And then the last one is pearl, which is a pearl mica. So I'm just going to get these poured out, melded. And I think I'm going to drain them. Empty that one out in a minute. One of the things I've caught doing in the past when I pour my colors out is I tend to, well, I used to anyway until I caught myself, but it seemed like I was always getting my colors more out in the middle and I was kind of neglecting the border, the outer edge. And then when it came time to meld the colors, I always had to work some towards the edge to get that to go over the edge. Now on this, it's a 1/2 inch sample board, but when you've got a countertop that's 1.5 inches deep, you want to make sure that you get a good amount around your edges so you've got enough to meld and you know it's going to flow. Just like that's flowing over the edge because they got it so close. What I put here is these are just undertones. So no real rhyme or reason as to where they're going or how I'm putting them down. And now I just want to meld it, and all I'm doing is just basically trying to get the board covered. Covering up the dry spots. And it's okay if I have some areas that aren't melded, because it does kind of give a cool look. And I'm using 3 ounces per square foot of the Stone Coat Art Coat Epoxy. And because I'm going to be doing primarily spray paint veins, I want to make sure that I've got good coverage of 3 ounces per square foot. That's going to give me enough material on the surface that I'm going to be able to run my veins and still be able to manipulate those with a heat gun and get those to move around. If I'm a little light and I'm a little less than 3 ounces per square foot, then those veins aren't going to have enough resin on the table to work them. That is really, really pretty just as it is. Holy cow, that looks really cool. That looks really cool. Now as far as running the veins, I don't want the epoxy to be extremely fluid because I want my veins to somewhat stay in place, because I'm going to be spraying spray paint on a stir stick. And if I were to run those veins immediately, as soon as I run that stir stick in there, that spray paint is going to want to flow out, and I want it to stay a little bit more in place. Now on a sample board like this, I can wait 20 minutes, but if I'm doing a large countertop, I don't have that luxury of waiting 20 minutes, because then by the time I get to the other end of the countertop, it could be that, you know, I might be running at 45 minutes to an hour. So you kind of have to plan that out. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remeld this board. As it's had a chance to sit, the metallics have settled. So I'm going to go back over, I'm going to meld it again. Yep, I'm going to meld it again. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but you can really see how it really wakes up those metallics. And I can tell by running my hand over it that it has started to set up. Now I'm just going to very lightly torch it, because if I torch it too much, Then all I'm going to do is make it fluid and I'm going to settle back down again. Actually, I take that back. I'm not going to torch it because I'm going to be running some veins in there and I'll be adding heat to it anyway, and I'll torch it one final time. Now, to get my first set of undertone colors down there, I'll be using a notch bondo spreader, and I'm not quite sure which one I want to use. I might try that one, but you can tell on this bondo spreader that comes to a sharp point, and on this bondo spreader, they're more of a flat point. And what that's going to do is that's going to move more epoxy, and I really don't want to do that. I'm going to use that one. Settled. Just like we would on that, I guess. Curve that around just a little bit. All right, now with the veining, I'm going to be using some chestnut brown. I'm going to be using black and white. I'm going to be using oil rub bronze and also champagne bronze. So you can see the distinct lines that the notched bondo spreader put in there. I could wait 10 to 15 minutes and they'll soften up on their own, but I like to use the heat gun when I know I have so much more work to do on it. Kind of speeds up the process, but it also allows me to soften those up and kind of move those around. And to me, I think they look a lot more authentic that way. All right, so I'm going to start with black, and that will kind of be my guide. And I think I want to run one right through this heavy vein here. So let's go off that way with it. So I'm going to speed this up as I'm adding in and layering all of those colors in. By the way, you can see me or hear me tap that stick onto the table. When I spray paint on there, the reason I'm tapping that on the table is so I can get any big drips off of it so I don't get a big puddle when I first add it onto the surface. By layering those colors, that's what it's going to end up looking like by the time it's said and done. And I put the colors pretty much on top of each other for that reason. So when I take the heat gun and manipulate those and move those around a little bit, that's the look that I'm after. Now the gloss spray paints and the metallic spray paints both react a little bit differently. So as you practice with those, you'll discover how they react differently and then what you like. And especially when you take the heat gun to it and start to manipulate it, you'll be able to see the difference between just the gloss spray paints and also the metallics. Now as I heat this up, there are times where you'll see that I'll heat up on each side of the vein first. That's because when I manipulate the vein, if I don't heat up on either side of it, it kind of closes back up. So that allows it to open it up and more stay play. And I think that's a walk-away Joe. That is a walk-away Joe. I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it a lot, I like it a lot. I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. It's late, it's 9 o'clock in the evening, I've been up since 4:15. Don't ask me why, because I have no freaking clue. All right, I like that. I don't know what the camera is showing. I'll do a little bit of a flyby. And I'm going to do the walk-away Joe. I'm just a walk-away Joe. So we got an overhead, 52 minutes. There's some really pretty colors in that vein. And then that's our center vein. And look at that white. When that white goes in, it really spreads out. But then once you put the heat to it and move it around, it really tightens up and gives a really, really cool looking effect. All right, now let's come around to the other side. And this is from a different angle. Now right here is one of the reasons why we say the pictures don't do it justice. Because when you get up close, that's when you really start to see the detail. And the detail in those veins is truly amazing. Remember how I layered the colors in there between the chestnut brown, the oil rub bronze, the champagne bronze, the black and the white. And look at that white. It really spreads out when you first put it on there, but once you put the heat to it, it really closes up. But the veins really, really look nice. And they look very authentic. I mean, that's the biggest thing, and that's what the customers are looking for, is an authentic stone look, and I think we did it. All right, now, I'm going to spritz it. Now, let's see what it looks like with the spritz. Now, I could, and I think I will, I'm going to give it one quick torching. Because I don't want the cells to be real prominent. And actually I could spritz that with some pearl, which would look really cool. But see, that's what I want to get away from, is creating the big circles within the gray. So we're going to see how much those are going to dissipate. But what I can do is I can take my stick and I can just run through those, because it's so fluid right now that that's going to close back up. If I've got any big drops that I don't like. Now, because of the amount of heat that I added to it when I was manipulating the veins, it once again caused those metallics in the pearl and in the undertones. It caused those to settle again. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to remeld those and kind of wake those back up again. And that's exactly what happened, is it did wake those back up. And it also allowed me to bring in a little bit of that gray type color into those undertones and kind of help blend everything in together. It was a good move and ended up working out really well. And that does kind of bring some of that silver down inside here, which looks really cool. And that really woke those metallics up again. Now they're going to settle back down again, which is a good thing. But I'm going to torch it one more time. I know, now you're thinking, okay, now you're heating it up again and all those metallics are going to settle back down. But I wanted to get the finger marks out of there, and I wanted to make sure that that was going to be able to kind of soften up, if you will. Now the alcohol that I spritzed in there, where I really wanted that effect to be, was more in my veins and not so much where I had my pearl. And it's kind of difficult to really narrow in where you want to spritz. But where I melted that, really, really liking it. Okay, I'm going to walk away. Okay, so let's do a final flyover. And this is actually a couple days later. All of the photos from before, the video from before, was when the epoxy was fresh. This is how the final look is. The veins really, really turned out nice. They look amazing. This design is actually going to end up going on about 73 total square feet of countertop. Customer absolutely loved it. I sent them a picture of the sample board and they said, yep, that's exactly what we're after, and it's a go. But just look at the detail in those veins. And again, when you see a picture, you're really not able to see those details. But when you're up close and personal, it looks fabulous. And it really, really does look authentic. If you look close, you can see where some of the lines are from where I initially ran the notched bondo spreader. That kind of gives it a layered look. And then you can also see some of the effects in there from when I spritzed it with the isopropyl alcohol, like you see in some of those cells. But the veins really, really set the piece off, let alone the colors that were used. The oil rub bronze, the champagne bronze metallics really turned out nice. So this is a great piece. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to click that subscribe button to be notified of upcoming tutorials. I really appreciate you supporting my channel. It really helps. And until next time, we will see you on the next video.